Please, Connor says, his voice suddenly squeaky like it was before his voice changed. Please don't tell anyone. I've got to get out of this place. He reaches into his backpack, fumbling, and pulls out a wad of bills from his wallet. You want money? I've got money. I'll give you all I got. I don't want your money, the trucker says. All right, then what? Even in the dim light, the trucker must see the panic in Connor's eyes, but he doesn't say a thing. Please, says Connor again, I'll do anything you want. The trucker looks at him in silence for a moment more. Is that so? He finally says. He steps inside and closes the door behind him. Connor shuts his eyes, not daring to consider what he's just gotten himself into. The trucker sits beside him. What's your name? Connor. Then he realizes a moment too late that he should have given a fake name. The trucker scratches his beard stubble and thinks for a moment. Let me show you something, Connor. He reaches over Connor and grabs, of all things, a deck of cards from his little pouch hanging next to a bed. Did you ever see this? The trucker takes the deck of cards in one hand and does a skillful one-handed shuffle. Pretty good, huh? Connor, not knowing what to say, just nods. How about this? Then the trucker takes a single card and with the sleight of his hand makes the card vanish into thin air. Then he reaches over and pulls the card right out of Connor's shirt pocket. You like that? Connor lets out a nervous laugh. Well, those tricks you saw, the trucker says. I didn't do them. I don't know what you mean. The trucker rolls up his sleeve to reveal that the arm, which had done the tricks, had been grafted on at the elbow. 10 years ago, I fell asleep at the wheel, the trucker tells him. Big accident. I lost an arm, a kidney, and a few other things. I got new ones, though, and I pulled through. He looks at his hands. Now Connor can see that the trick card hand is a little bit different from the other one. The trucker's other hand has thicker fingers, and the skin is a bit more olive in tone. So, says Connor, you got dealt a new hand. The trucker laughs at that, and then he becomes quiet for a moment, looking at his replacement hand. These fingers here knew things the rest of me didn't. Muscle memory, they call it. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't wonder what other incredible things that kid who owned this arm knew before he was unwound. Whoever he was. The trucker stands up. You're lucky you came to me. He says, there are truckers out there who'll take whatever you offer and turn you in anyways. And you're not like that. No, I'm not. He pulls out his hand, his other hand, and Connor shakes it. Josiah's Aldridge, he says. I'm heading north from here. You can ride with me till morning. Connor's relief is so great. It takes the wind right out of him. He can't even offer a thank you. That bed, there's not the most comfortable in the world, says Aldridge, but it does the job. Get yourself some rest. I gotta go take a dump, then we'll be on our way. Then he closes the door, and Connor listens to his footsteps, heading off towards the bathroom. Connor finally lets his guard down, and begins to feel his own exhaustion. The trucker didn't give him a destination, just a direction. That's fine. North, south, east, west. It doesn't matter as long as it's away from here. As for his next move, well, first he's got to get through this one before he can think about what comes next. A minute later, Connor's already beginning to doze when he hears a shout from outside. We know you're in there. Come out now and you won't get hurt. Connor's heart sinks. Josiah's Aldridge has apparently pulled another sleight of hand. He's made Connor appear for the police. Abracadabra. With his journey over before it even began, Connor swings the door open to see 3 juvie cops aiming weapons. But they're not aiming at him. In fact, their backs are to him. Across the way, the cab door swings open of the truck he had hidden under just a few minutes before, and a kid comes out from behind the empty driver's seat, his hands in the air. Connor recognizes him right away. It's a kid he knows from school. Andy Jansen. Oh my God, is Andy being unwound too? There's a look of fear in Andy's face, but beyond it is something worse. A look of utter defeat. That's when Connor realizes his own folly. He'd been so surprised by this turn of events that he's still just standing there, exposed for anyone to see, while the policemen don't see him. but Andy does. He catches sight of Connor, holds his gaze, only for a moment. And in that moment, something remarkable happens. The look of despair on Andy's face is suddenly replaced by a steely resolve bordering on a triumph. He quickly looks away from Connor and takes a few steps before the police grab him, steps away from Connor, so that the police still have their backs to him. Andy had seen him and not given him away. If Andy has nothing else after this day, at least he'll have this small victory. Connor leans back into the shadows of the truck and pulls the door outside. As the police take Andy away, Connor lies back down, and his tears come as sudden as a summer downpour. He's not sure who he's crying for. For Andy, for himself, for Ariana. For not knowing makes his tears flow all the more. Instead of wiping the tears away, he lets them dry on his face, like he used to when he was a little boy. And the things he'd cried about were so insignificant that he'd forgotten by morning. The trucker never comes to check on him. Instead, Connor hears the engine start and feels the truck pulling out. The gentle motion of the road rocks him to sleep. The ring of Connor's cell phone wakes him out of a deep sleep. He fights consciousness. He wants to go back to the dream he was having. It was about a place he was sure he had been to, although he couldn't quite remember when. He was at a cabin on a beach with his parents before his brother was born. Connor's leg had fallen through a rotted board on the porch into spider webs so thick they felt like cotton. Connor had screamed and screamed from the pain and the fear of the giant spiders that he was convinced would eat his leg off. And yet this was a good dream, good memory, because his father was there to pull him free and carry him inside, where they bandaged his leg and sat him by the fire and some kind of cider so flavorful he could still taste it when he thought about it. His father told him a story that he could no longer remember, but that's all right. That wasn't a story, but the tone of his voice that mattered, a gentle baritone rumble as calming waves breaking on a shore. Little boy Connor drank his cider and leaned back against his mother, pretending to fall asleep. But what he was really trying to do was dissolve into the moment and make it last forever. In the dream, he did dissolve. His whole being flowed into the cider cup, and his parents placed it gently on the table, close enough to the fire to keep it warm forever and always. Stupid dreams. Even the good ones are bad, because they remind you of how poorly reality measures up. His cell phone rings again, chasing away the last of his dream. Connor almost answers it. The sleeper room of the truck is so dark he doesn't realize at first that he's not in his own bed. The only thing that saves him is that he can't find his phone, and he must turn on a light. When he finds a wall where his nightstand should be, he realizes that this isn't his room. The phone rings again. That's when it all comes back to him, and he remembers where he is. Connor finds his phone in his backpack. The phone ID says the call is from his father. So now his parents know he's gone. Do they really think he'll answer his phone? He waits until voicemail takes the call. Then he turns off the power. His watch says 7:30 a.m. He rubs the sleep out of his eyes, trying to calculate how far they have traveled. The truck isn't moving anymore, but they must have traveled at least 200 miles while he slept. It's a good start. There's a knock on the door. Come on, kid. Your ride's almost over. Connor's not complaining. It was outrageously generous of this truck driver to do what he did. Connor won't ask any more of him. He swings open the door and steps out to thank the man. But it's not Josiah Aldridge. Josiah Aldridge is a few yards away being handcuffed, and in front of Connor is a policeman, a juvie cop wearing a smile as big as all outdoors. Standing 10 feet away is Connor's father, still holding the cell phone he had just called from. It's over, son, his father says. It makes Connor furious. I'm not your son, he wants to shout. I stopped being your son when you signed the Unwind papers. But the shock of the moment leaves him speechless. It had been so stupid of Connor to just leave his cell phone on. That's how they tracked him. He wonders how many other kids are caught by their own blind trust of technology. Well, Connor's not going the way Andy Jameson did. He quickly assesses the situation. The truck had been pulled over to the side of the interstate by 2 highway patrol cars and a juvie cop unit. The traffic barrels past at 70 miles per hour, oblivious to the little drama unfolding on the shoulder. Connor makes a split-second decision and bolts, pushing the officer against the truck and racing across the busy highway. Would they shoot an unarmed kid in the back, he wonders, or would they shoot him in the leg and spare his vital organs? As he races onto the interstate, cars swerve around him, but he keeps on going. "Connor, stop!" he hears his father yell. Then he hears a gunfire. He feels the impact, but not in his skin. The bullet embeds in his backpack. He doesn't look behind him. Then he reaches the highway median. He hears another gunshot, and a small blue splotch appears on the center divider. They're firing tranquilizer bullets. They're not taking him out. They're trying to take him down. And they're much more likely to fire tranq bullets at will than regular bullets. Connor climbs over the center divider and finds himself in a path of Cadillac that's not stopping for anything. The car swerves to avoid him, and by sheer luck, Connor's momentum takes him just a few inches out of the Caddy's path. Its side mirror smacks him painfully in the ribs before the car screeches to a halt, sending the acrid stench of burnt rubber up his nostrils. Holding his aching side, Connor sees someone looking at him from an open window of the back seat. It's another kid, dressed in all white. The kid is terrified. With the police already reaching the center divider, Connor looks into the eyes of this frightened kid and knows what he has to do. It's time for another split-second decision. He reaches through the window, pulls up the lock, and opens the door.